Erin Clapper, the program specialist for the Migrant Education Program for our state. Just a couple of reminders to please mute yourself if you're not speaking or asking a question or presenting, and to use the chat box for questions. That way we can have record of the questions asked for our purposes, and that the session is being recorded, and the session, as well as the handouts and presentations, will be available on the Title I-C webpage soon. All the handouts and all the handouts and presentations I have emailed out to you, so you all have those already. But they will be placed on the website for future use as you go through the year if you need to reference anything. And I just want to say thank you again to all of our speakers that we've had over the last couple of days. They've been really insightful, and appreciate their time and effort and expertise. And today, this morning, we have Marissa Leipke. She's the Executive Director of the College and Career Readiness Department here at the State Department. And she's going to talk to us about some support services in her area. So Marissa.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Erin, for inviting me. I appreciate, of course, the invitation to be able to talk about the services that my office provides. For those who are unfamiliar with the makeup for the State Department, I am from the Office of College and Career Readiness. Our office is from a much larger department named Student Support. So in that office, you will see services for academic counseling, so any courses or transcript support. We have an office of work-based learning and industry engagement, so for any students who are looking into internships or job shadows. We also have bullying prevention specialists in our office. And also our office of, oh gosh, I'll probably butcher it, but mental health supports. And so this area is what covers lots of our trauma-informed training. So a lot of you, if you've had an opportunity to go to those trainings, that is out of our area as well. And so if you, later on in the presentation, I will have the names of those who work in my area, but if you have any questions related to the areas I just mentioned, please feel free to reach out to me, and I have no problem connecting you to the appropriate person. So before we get started, I always like to try to do a warm-up exercise, which, I'm getting pretty good at it by doing this via Zoom, but there's a small enough group of us here, so I'm just curious to know where everybody is from. So we will utilize that chat. If you could just tell me, I have your names here, so I don't necessarily need you to put your name, but where you're from, or where you're listening from right now currently, town or location, and at least one thing that's on your desk or in your work area. It's always interesting to hear where people are Zooming from. So I'll leave a second for you guys to do that. So if you just use the chat, tell me where you're listening from and at least one thing that's on your desk. Play-Doh, that is. Lots of paperwork, yes. 1 or 3 Diet Dr. Ray, I feel you. Awesome. Sanitizer, of course, yes. I think that's probably all of our desks. Perfect. And of course, listening from Heavener and Guyman, perfect. Paper everywhere, yes. Same. Thank you guys so much. And it wouldn't be right if I didn't do that. I am Zooming from Shawnee, Oklahoma. And on my desk is, we have a little bit of some virtual school homework happening here, mixed in with some office work for both myself and my husband as well. So everybody's kind of doing the virtual thing in my house. And so it's been an interesting time, of course, for all of us to sort of find that balance. Today, I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about our new graduation requirement that we have. So our ICAP. Just sharing a little bit of how schools have been able to be innovative with this work, but the fact that this is extremely flexible, and how you all can make sure that you're aware of the resources available, joining maybe some of your school teams that are already focusing on this work, and then of course providing all of the input that you have for the students that you serve. That's where we can make sure that this program is a win for everybody. So just a quick agenda today, and we'll follow this really loosely. Just explaining what is ICAP, talk a little bit about the ICAP implementation process. We will do a little activity related to creating an equitable ICAP process. We'll talk a little bit about creating an ICAP action plan, and then we'll finish off with just some resources that we have here at the State Department, but also other resources throughout the state. If you do have questions, please feel free to, I'll ask Erin, if you don't mind, to just monitor the chat box for me. If you could send your chat questions to Erin, and that way we can have those, and I may periodically ask Erin or someone, whoever you want to designate for that, to share those questions with me if there's any burning, but there will be a portion at the end for questions as well. That way that we don't miss anything. And of course, since this is recorded for those that want to watch this a little bit later on.
Yes, I'll keep an eye on it for you.
Perfect, thank you. So what is ICAP? ICAP really refers to a process that helps students prepare for life after high school. So all of us could probably remember when we were approaching high school graduation, and we had questions about what those next steps were going to be, for our plans, and what we wanted to be when we grew up went from a very ominous question from when we were younger to real life. I really need to decide what that next step is for me, because I'm an adult, and those are, of course, the next steps for myself. So ICAP really allows for students to go through at least 4-year process of answering the questions of what interests me and what are the next steps for me, something that they start in freshman year rather than a couple of days before they cross the stage, which we know some students, myself included, go through that short panic of what the next steps are going to be after graduation. So ICAP is really a process that's made of several activities that are meant to spark thought and interest and exploration for students to start connecting with caring adults and making a plan for the future. So it's not just another graduation checklist, really. It's really meant to be student driven and student owned. And what we mean by that is that students are in the driver's seat. They are the ones who are making the decisions about what the next process is, how slow they want to go, how fast they want to go, how far they want to go. And the adults, being the parents and the students, are the ones that are just sitting there to answer the questions. So still involved to an extent, but not really leading the process. The students are the ones that are going to take their career assessments and learn about themselves and learn about the careers that are available. And then they're going to pause for a moment, they're going to ask you, and then they're going to jump back in. And that's how the process has been for the last few years or so. So our requirements by state law are that students have to take a career and college interest survey every year. They must also write and update their post-secondary workforce goals and progress towards those goals. They also have to update an intentional sequence of their courses. So that means listing the courses that they are taking, but then also recording their academic progress. So instead of just finishing junior or senior year when you're trying to apply for scholarships and you have no idea what you made in that one math class that you took 2-3 years ago, students are putting together their portfolio as they go. So when it comes time to apply for such programs or just to keep track of their own GPA, they'll be able to do that because they started early. They will include courses on their college and career ready assessments. So that'd be any of the assessments that they take while they are in high school, to include the SAT or ACT. And they must have at least one experience in in-service learning and or work environment. So that could be anything from a job shadow experience, an internship, a pre-apprenticeship, any of those activities, or in-service learning. So a service learning activity as well could be included in that. Just an opportunity for students to sort of test that theory. You know, if you say you want to go into agriculture and you went and job shadowed someone in that field and learned that not for me, well, that's fine. That means it worked perfectly. That means that you know, you didn't waste any time spending money towards a degree or program or going into that field for career training. You knew now when you were in high school where it was completely free. And we don't mind if students go on 10 job shadow experiences and learn that all 10 of them were fails, because that means that you did not waste any of your time, and you learn some things about yourself. So it's a win-win situation for any student. So implementing ICAP is done in a number of ways. Here are a few activities that some schools have done. Some have offered some brown bag lunch sessions, so that is inviting employers to come out and visit with students. Many have done this either in person or virtual. And so something that really supports a lot of the rural school districts who just don't have access to a lot of business leaders in their area. Being able to host a speaker virtually, similar to what we're doing now, has been really helpful and impactful for a lot of students. Some have offered what they call post-secondary and workforce readiness days. These days are similar to the senior conferences that you might see in the news. And so the way this works is that a school district will have sort of a breakout conference or a conference with breakout sessions. And those breakout sessions are related to tasks that are necessary for the future. So a financial aid breakout session, or a college readiness breakout session, or something about, you know, getting a loan or good credit, or, you know, things like that. And so they invite several speakers from across the state who are experts in these different topics. And students will go to these sessions just like we go to a professional conference ourselves. So it allows for the students to get the information, rather than what we know always to be true is when students go with parents and they sit and they let parents get all the information and they don't really say anything or ask questions. This is for the students strictly, for them to be able to ask questions and start that next step into adulthood of taking heed of their futures. Some use an advisory class. This is a course that, or 20 minutes a day for about 3 days a week. And that is where they implement ICAP. So they've kind of not created a whole class for ICAP, but some dedicated time. I can say that's the most popular way that schools have done that. And then others provide classroom guidance with school counselors. So if they have enough school counselors, or if they're small enough to where they can get away with just the one counselor, they come in and do an ICAP session a few times each semester to make sure the students hit their activities. So here are a couple of resources that school districts have used for implementing ICAP. And I'm going to click on this, and please let me know if you cannot see this. Is everyone able to see this?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so here is our ICAP toolkit. You know, when we first started the ICAP implementation process, we actually did this in a 2-year pilot phase, where we invited about, oh gosh, it must have been 73 school districts. It's crazy when you think about it. 73 school districts across the state who piloted the ICAP process. And what they did was they started from complete scratch and started implementing ICAP in ways that made sense for their schools. They also vetted every single material that I'm going to show you today. So everything that we have was actually completed and designed by our ICAP pilots. It was not designed by us, the State Department. In fact, the toolkit I'm showing you now was actually written by about 10 of our Oklahoma high school counselors. So this toolkit, I say, is best for those who They are just starting all over from scratch. I would like to do a college and career readiness program in my school, and we don't really have anything. We're building it from bare bones, and I want to start completely from scratch. I would say use this ICAP toolkit. Everything, we try to anticipate everything that you might need related to all things ICAP or college and career readiness, if you so choose to use that term. And so here are the counselors who were all involved in the writing of the toolkit. So many of your middle school and high school counselors as well. So most of your secondary. And then we go into talking about the ICAP 2155, so our legislation here. So if you have any questions about that, or maybe you're at a new district, or maybe you have a completely new staff or team that you're a part of, this really talks about the beginning of ICAP and what that means. We do have a little bit about the work skills gap, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I wanted to get to one of our pieces here. This is in here. We go. So we do have a list of our specific trends. And I think this is really important to do because later in this toolkit, we talk about the importance of using data to drive a lot of these decisions on how you would want ICAP or college and career readiness to work for your school. The toolkit itself is broken up into 5 parts that talks about the steps for implementing ICAPs. Of course, part 1 is forming an ICAP leadership team. And so here are some examples of some team members that some of our school districts have done and have included. Of course, that doesn't mean that that's all you can do, but there are some that have had a lot of success by making sure they've had lots of input from different stakeholders as well. Okay. Here we have our ICAP implementation examples. So these are, just real quickly, what we did is I mentioned earlier, our school district started the ICAP implementation process from scratch. What we found was that by year 2, there were 3 emerging themes or most popular themes for implementing ICAP, and we cleverly named them A, B, and C. So option A, and this is for school districts who, let's say they, they have some intentional sequencing. Maybe they do some activities, but it's not in any particular order. And in fact, that's really why you would use any of these options. The first toolkit I mentioned is if you have absolutely nothing. This particular toolkit with the 3 options would be for a school district who they do some activities related to college and career, but it's not really consistent and it's not in any particular order or framework. So using these implementation examples, you would read them and learn which example really matches your particular district. So being option A, B, or C. And then lastly, the ICAP activity toolkits. These were really meant for districts who had no idea what they were going to do for ICAP. We had a lot of counselors who had just started in their positions at a school, or maybe they just moved to a different school. And while they may have known what ICAP is, they had no idea what the school was doing before they arrived. Or for some of the districts who, they've had a lot of things going on, just much like now. And, it was time to implement ICAP and they just didn't have a lot of time to plan. So what we did was we put together just these activity toolkits that were named by months. And so it let you know for the month of October and November, these are things that you could be doing for your students. And then we go into, talking about other months as well. We go all the way through the school year. So this is just an example of October and November. What's a little different about this toolkit is we don't just focus on talking about the students in your school. What we talk about is this group here that is called the out-of-school youth, or what we call opportunity youth. So just for reference, in Oklahoma, according to our Employment Security Commission, youth between the years of 16 and 19 of age have an unemployment rate of 11.5%, while the state unemployment rate for all ages is only 3.2%. So it's safe to say that this particular age range makes up most of our unemployment rate. So 16 to 19, we're not including students who are enrolled in school. What we are including are 16 to 19-year-olds who what they call are out-of-school youth or opportunity youth. These are students who are not in school with one or more barriers to unemployment, being homelessness, parental responsibilities, disabilities, or juvenile or crime record. So the reason we put this information here is because ICAP, especially for our most vulnerable populations, can really be made as an intervention for any students who are just not engaged in school and they have other barriers, of course, for them to participate. A lot of our schools have done a lot of great things for alternative education, also virtual schools that have really stepped up and being able to offer options for students to complete school in non-traditional hours. But there are also other barriers for students to be able to engage and finish school. And we know that. And we know that for a lot of us, for school, public school, we're sort of the last step before they become these out of school youth. Once they are, they sort of disappear from our school districts or our student list, they will re-pop up in sort of juvenile records or DHS or other places as well. So this is a way for us to use this as an intervention to make sure that we can try to keep students as engaged as we can, but also prepare them for the next steps in a way that's necessary and it makes sense for them and their families. So we do have an example of service learning and work environment activities. This does provide, we get a lot of questions about what would count for service learning experiences and activities. And so there's a wonderful one-pager put together that is available on our website that does explain the differences between service learning and work-based learning as well. They also go into, here we are, some examples of what each of those may be. One of the most popular is, of course, internships for a lot of students. And so we do get a lot of questions about that. And so you have an FAQ available here. And then there are other places and other ways that students can accomplish that as well. So when talking about ICAP, this is something that we always use for describing this, is that it's more than just providing equal opportunities. Equality is giving everyone a shoe, equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits. And so what's wonderful about ICAP and a lot of this work is that when it's student driven, it's with the student in mind. And so we are making sure that it does fit. When it's driven from us and we're able to see really kind of the 30,000 foot view, we're not able to see a lot of the specific needs for students and families. And sometimes we miss those things. And so starting with the student and the family has really been very helpful in designing such a program. So now we're going to do an activity where I just kind of want to hear from you all about creating an equitable ICAP process. Okay, so I'm going to ask this question here. So we know that inequality means unequal access to opportunities. So I just want to hear from you all, and you are welcome to use the chat. That might be easier. What are some examples of unequal and career readiness practices?
Okay, there's a response that says tracking students.
Perfect. So tracking students, I think that's a perfect one. Okay, so that would be unequal.
Sending everyone to the same experience.
Perfect. That is perfect. Yes. And let's do one more.
Another tracking students, they agreed with that.
Perfect.
Another idea is college entrance exams, ACT, SAT, not in students' native language.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And denying ELs access to AP.
Yes, perfect, perfect answers. Absolutely, you guys are good. Okay. So here are some other examples. So after school only college and career fairs. So making those fairs only available to after school, making it next to impossible for a student who doesn't have transportation or a parent who works a non-hour, traditional hours outside of 5 o'clock to attend. In-person only financial aid. So sort of the same premise before as transportation is a big deal and very difficult for some to get that information. English only materials, of course, extremely unequal. And inviting only certain students to attend recruitment events. This is something that, when we noticed that there were some schools, not all, during the ICAP process that sort of viewed college and career readiness or these fairs sort of as a reward. And maybe it was just because it was so different from what they normally did. And so, only the kids who have certain GPAs need to go. If you had perfect attendance this week, you can go. So it was sort of this carrot. And I understand, you're trying to keep kids engaged and you want to give them a reason to go. But when given the fact that these college and career nights can be so impactful and important for students to be able to make plans for the next step, perhaps a rewarding process really isn't necessary for something like this. So just sort of thinking about that, moving forward. Okay, you guys are doing good. So the next is equality. Evenly distributed tools and assistance. So sort of the same premise. What are some examples of equal college and career readiness practices? I'll give you guys some time to think about that.
Okay, we have everyone getting an experience based on person's interest, college entrance exam, ACT, SAT, and students' native language, designing individual plans.
Perfect. Perfect. Great answers. So some answers we had here was offering a college and career ready or college and career fair for all students, inviting all students and parents to financial aid nights, placing college and career readiness materials in high visible areas on campus, sending CCR or college and career readiness newsletters to all parents and families, multilingual college and career readiness resources for families. And I'm going to go back to that. So right here with the multilingual CCR resources, this has been a game changer for a lot of our school districts. One of the things that we got, one of the questions was, I'm sure you guys get this a lot, is, well, the student, has no problem. They're speaking English. And so not understanding with who their audience is. Perhaps, yes, the student does speak English, but the parents do not. And if financial aid resources really need to be on a level that parents can understand mostly, because of course they're the ones that are going to have to complete forms and things like that. And so those were just some opportunities that a lot of schools had some aha moments really through this process and making sure that what they were doing in the past was something that they needed to improve on to make sure that all students could be engaged in the process. And so our last one here is an equitable process. And I won't ask for input for the sake of time, but here were some of the answers we had. So offering various channels for college and career fairs. So virtual, in-person, day and evening. Because of course, equality is great because it's really kind of the one way, but we're making sure we're reaching the masses. But when you reach the masses, you're not really quite sure if that's the best way to communicate to them. So they just sort of have to deal with the most popular way. And if that's through a newsletter, then, great. Or if it's just the fairs are at 5 o'clock and everybody's welcome, I just need to, I guess, try to figure out my schedule. But wouldn't it be great if I didn't have to sacrifice a paycheck or something for the day to go to a college and career readiness fair for my kids? And so if I had an opportunity to go to the fair virtual or day or evening or something like that, or more options, then you have an opportunity of meeting the needs of your families, including an equal amount of career training and college and fairs. This is going back to the section of not just providing one thing. I think one of you all said that, and that's very true, because college is not the path for every single student, neither is career training as well. So we want to make sure that there's a equal distribution amount of opportunities for every student and family there. And of course, offering various channels for your financial aid workshop. So the same before for college and career fairs, making sure that there are various options or ways for people to be able to get that information. So great exercise. You guys did wonderful. I think that, you know, those are very, very good conversation pieces when planning events. When schools start to do those things. I think our schools did an excellent job of last year pre-COVID. It was pretty, I will say, devastating to see all of the events that they had put so much work into that were supposed to happen in the spring that didn't happen. But they did a great job going far beyond the expectations for ICAP. So I have, you know, lots of very encouraged by what the schools are able to do. But many of them kind of went through that same equity exercise. How do we go from it being sort of unequal, so it was just sort of there, and, you know, if you showed up, great. If you didn't, you know, no big deal, to being equal, but then also the goal being equitable. So how do we go through that process? How do we change how we're, you know, engaging with the community on this? So here is, you know, just another really quick exercise when sort of creating that equitable action plan for college and career readiness. So we'll go through a quick logic model. So first one is sort of your problem practice. Create a problem practice that clearly identifies a current need based on your current pathways. So I know it's just lots of technical language there, but just in layman's terms, trying to figure out a way for our students to increase attendance. So there was one school district who noticed that school attendance wasn't great, but what they also noticed was that it wasn't great on Fridays for whatever reason. Maybe it was a game day, maybe it was, you know, some other activity, or maybe brother or sister had a game or something, and, you know, mom just kind of took all of them out. But Fridays just weren't happening. So that was their current problem of practice. We need to figure out a way to address that. They figured that the best way, of course, to do that was to engage students. You know, these were older high school students, so they did have a say-so if they were going to school, unlike, you know, elementary students really don't have much of a say-so. So this was not so much, you know, of course I need to communicate better to the parents and let them know, you know, the importance of coming to school and being present. But also we have to engage the students too, so that they make sure that they do want to come on Fridays. So they took a deeper dive and started to look at what was happening on Fridays anyway. What sort of things are we teaching? Is it too relaxed to where students sort of feel like, well, you know, I'm not really learning anything there. That's sort of a recap, so I don't feel like I have to go. Some schools or some of the classrooms surveyed the students to kind of learn what the issue was, and it wasn't really enough of a consistency for the students. You know, everybody had their different reasons for, you know, what they could do better. And so that's when you go through the process of sort of just discussing and identifying that particular problem, trying to find the root cause. So that means maybe surveying the students, maybe looking at curriculum, and then sharing and organizing some of your findings, and then revisiting and finalizing it later. So sometimes if you're like me, you have to step away from the problem and then come back because you're just too deep in it. And so after they completed step 2, they found that students were bored on Fridays. They, you know, wore out. You know, the first week was really heavy with their schoolwork, and they felt kind of burnt out by Fridays. You know, it was just kind of their day. You know, can you imagine being 17 years old and burnt out and needing a 3-day weekend? You know, but that was the space. So so that's their step where they, of course, have gone deep. And so what they figured were that if we figured out a way to engage our students on this day, but didn't veer off from learning. So we're not talking about having a whole day of assemblies or, you know, something like that, because our teachers need the time to be able to teach and instruct. but there's a different way that we can do that. And so they chose to use college and career readiness as part of their plan. And so every Friday, they sort of have a future career Friday where they take what they've learned on throughout the week. And on Fridays, it's sort of the classroom is sort of transformed in sort of this office space where the students show up and they are to work on an actual project but a professional project. So it's a real problem, a real professional project. So they are visited with the employer that they are working for at the beginning of the semester. And so they give them their tasks. So picture sort of like a virtual internship, if you will, but you only work on it one day a week, which is on Fridays. So every Friday you show up and you work on this particular project that you have for this company or business leader. And so you get to be an intern every single Friday with your classmates. And of course they saw, attendance boost, on Fridays, because of course, why wouldn't you? It was very different. And they were still using the same principles that they had learned in school. So it made it very relevant to that particular class. And so no more of asking, why do I need to learn algebra? Why do I need to, And so, so it was a very, very cool opportunity for students to be engaged in the career planning process, but connecting that to real relevant things that they were learning in the classroom, and for the school to solve a problem. That was a big problem. Attendance is huge. I mean, every Friday it's a big chunk out of that particular semester that they saw. So, so kudos, of course, to that team, and of course, using this logic to do there. So that's just one example there. So of course, I have a couple of resources for reconnecting or using ICAP to reconnect with students. Although, of course, ICAP is just a requirement beginning with class of 2023, because ICAP uses the online tools, and we'll show you those a little bit later on, it is completely free and extremely easy to expand those tools to include your juniors and your seniors. And that way they can create a roadmap to navigate college and career plans during COVID-19, because we know that they are going to continue to be affected by all of the things happening here, by many schools closing and things going virtual, online. There are just lots of things that students are going to need more resources now more than ever when planning for their next steps. And of course, I'm sorry, this isn't showing up. It's crunched together on this, but what we do have is we have a one-pager for guidance for families and educators, talking about ways to stay connected with college and career readiness in the midst of COVID. So we have some low-tech options and some mid to high-tech accessibility options. Many of our resources have yet to be translated. I do know that some of our departments here at the OSDE have been working on that. A lot of our resources that were very quick to put together, especially in COVID, hadn't had time to be translated, but we are working on those as well. And of course, supporting our graduates. So of course, due to the disruption, all Oklahomans have opportunities to use many tools that have either relaunched or have just been invented to be able to help students consider some on-the-job training. And so here is one of our tools that I believe is fairly new through Oklahoma Works. And what they have put together is an apprenticeship program or apprenticeship list. And so what you're seeing are the companies, the occupation, and their location and information, and all of them that are looking for apprentice. So Anchor Glass Container, Canadian Valley, and so all these places students can call and apply to be an apprentice here. And so you see that they are all over the state, so not just in Oklahoma City. And so these are for students who not really interested in career tech or college right now, or at all, and really just are interested in getting into the workforce. But of course, as we know, many of the jobs that are available now and will be in the future are going to require some education beyond high school to get those positions. That education could be career tech, college, or like here, on the job training or apprenticeship. So I encourage you guys to take a look at this list. You all have students who are in your lives, or children, or whomever. This is really fairly new. So getting the word out is the best we can, is really kind of our best method for sharing this right now. Usually we would go through our schools and our counselors, and we do, and we have, but given, you know, the nature of COVID and everyone getting so much information, sometimes it does get lost in the emails. So another piece for supporting your graduates are our career technology centers, and many of you guys are familiar with those. Many of our career tech centers offer scholarships to students graduating from their partnered high school. So partnered high school means that that high school has a relationship with that career tech center. And so it's very easy to find that out on that career tech's website, and I'm happy to show you all another tool that you could find that out as well. What many people don't know is that FAFSA, or your FAFSA report, and lots of your financial aid can be used at career tech centers. Oklahoma has some of the lowest FAFSA completion rate in the country. Many of that may be due to the fact that people do not understand how to use it. FAFSA is not just for colleges to use. It is also to be used at career tech training offices as well. And so what we're excited to do is we worked with Career Tech, and they put together a FAFSA sheet here, just kind of a cheat guide. So something very easy for you all to be able to use and help a family or a student think through. And so what they have is, you have your Career Tech Center. This is the number to their financial aid office. And then here is their FAFSA code. So if you don't need to call them, and all you need is you're helping a student fill out a FAFSA report and they need that FAFSA code, it is available right here. So very, very easy to use. All of this, of course, color coded for students, and they can go on there. If they want to take a look at the Career Tech Center, this is the link. They can click that, take a look there. Again, if they do not need that information, all they need is a FAFSA code that is available right here. So of course, we provided several resources in our Return to Learn guide that talks about ways to develop sort of a plan of action, or sort of a team to help support students who will be graduating in the midst of a pandemic. So not just our students from last year that just graduated, but now your current students, your class of 2021, who will be graduating under similar circumstances as well. So making sure that they have the resources they need, you know, filling out their FAFSA, keeping up with their Oklahoma's promise, and, confirming that information, taking virtual tours of colleges. Starting now would probably be the best time to do that, because lots of information, of course, will change, and you'll want to establish someone at a campus that is your constant connection. And that way, as information changes, they will be updated as well. And then we have, of course, some other resources for students who might be virtually visiting a college. We have a virtual visit guide for students as well. Here, of course, is our nifty website. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, this is our college and career readiness website here for the state of Oklahoma. And so all the things that I talked about today related to ICAP, or all of the other resources related to college and career readiness, you will find on this website here. So lots of our ICAP toolkits and career literacy and all of those information is available here. And then we added a new page for those who are interested in connecting with their post-secondary partners. So those partners being career tech or higher education partners as well. We do have a new platform, our OSDE next.com platform. And so this is extremely helpful for those who are interested in taking a step further and offering some virtual career curriculum to students. You also can use this platform to connect with employers virtually. So if you were at a school that doesn't have a lot of industry around you, or just want to connect for the sheer sake of time. Some schedules are tighter than others. I can tell you that lots of employers really do enjoy this platform. They like to be able to connect virtually just because it's easier on their schedule and easier on their day. And in this way, they can reach several students at one time. A virtual speaker or an employer can host up to 100 classrooms at one time. So all across the state, lots of students getting an opportunity to hear from employers all over the state. I spoke earlier about some online tools. OK College Start is one of our free online tools that is offered through the state. OK Career Guide is the other tool. These are the tools where students will use to keep track of their ICAP portfolios or ICAP action or options. Oops, sorry. And so through 9th through 12th grade, they will have a ICAP portfolio that will keep track of all of their progress, all of their goals, all of their actions, to where they can present to their next step advisor. So let's say they go to career tech, they will have an advisor. They could share with them a 4-year plan rather than trying to remember and rattle something off in one appointment. The same for a college advisor as well, or a career training advisor, or so on and so forth. So gives them an opportunity to keep track of their progress and their career development, and use that as a tool to sort of help them along the way. Now I'm going to try to go back to this website here, because there is one thing I do want to show you all. So here I'm on the page for career tech and K-12 partnerships. And this sort of just shows how a school may work or meaningfully partner with a career tech, other than just the kids who go to career tech, because there's other ways that a career tech can support all of your students at your school, not just those enrolled. And so we have the resources related to career advisor that I just spoke of, the OK Career Guide. They have some pretty nifty resources for all K-12 students. So they have some curriculum, career curriculum, that starts as early as elementary school. So lots of resources. So I was speaking earlier about the school who started to turn their Fridays into sort of some future career day Fridays. Some could use this career curriculum and connect it, of course, to their standards for that particular course. Others, of course, took it a step further and made that sort of a work-based learning day. So lots of ways that they can include and sort of transform their classrooms. Of course, there are your financial aid resources here that are available and how you would use those at your Career Tech Center. We do have a couple of videos here. This is a video of one of the senior conferences I mentioned earlier. And then here's a Career Tech signing day. But what I wanted to show you was this interactive map of all of our Career Tech centers across the state. This one in particular just shows our career tech districts as a whole, so all of them and where they're located. If it's easier for you to pop this out, what we've done is we separated the Career Tech Center programs by the 16 national career clusters. So for those unfamiliar, the world of work is separated by 16 career clusters. So every job that we have is somewhere located within each of these 16 clusters. And they are put together, by several things related to the type of interests or personalities that you may have, this different tasks, the knowledge and skills and abilities that it takes to do those jobs. So lots of things that are done. And this is from, of course, Department of Labor and several others that have sort of put this together. So this is nationally recognized. So the same for agricultural, food, natural resources would be the same in Oklahoma as in Missouri, Texas, California, or wherever. So wonderful and very easy tool. So what we've done is we've separated those. So after a student takes a career assessment, and they will be given some top career clusters that they have. So if that cluster is law and public safety, then I'm gonna get rid of all these to make it a little easier for us to see here. Then I may be just interested in law and public safety programs across the state. And so, you know, I may have graduated from Broken Arrow, but maybe I'm relocating to this area here. And that's okay. So I want to know what programs are available in that area that match my interests. And so this is also true for any students or their families who move as well. It gives them an opportunity to see where all these programs are so they can sort of pick up and continue their career guidance plan. What I've also done here is I took those same career tech centers here and I separated them into smaller little groups here. So finance programs, STEM programs, you still have your law and public safety, IT, and then transportation and distribution and logistics. So it gets a little bit more detailed here. But what is also different is this is not just separated by your career tech centers. These are for current students or families who are looking for career tech programs for their students to either enroll in now while they're in high school, or think about as a post-secondary opportunity. So what we've done, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to zoom in here, is very easy. So just like a Google map, a student may click and say, okay, this is my hometown, Hennessy, let's see what they've got. So the school district, Hennessy, this is my county name, this is the address of the career tech, or the school, I'm sorry, and my career tech center is Northwest Tech. And here is a link to their programs here. So as a student, I know my career tech information is here. And this is the one that is connected to my school district. So this is my partnered career tech center. And here's a link to all of the classes there. So very similar if we were to ask a student to take a look at some colleges and start to research which college works for them. And they may use things such as location, affordability, the type of programs they have. They would be able to do the same thing here for career tech. So going back earlier, what we were talking about equitable resources and tools, not just making it really easy for students to find a college that meets their needs, making sure that we are making it also equally as easy to find a career tech program as well. And so, like I said, lots of different tools that we've created to be able to support students and teachers and educators like yourselves in this space. I want to stop here for questions. I know I just have a few minutes here, and I don't know if you have any questions, Erin, or if anybody sent anything to you privately, but I'm happy to take any questions now.
Watch the chat box for you for a little bit. You can unmute yourself and ask your question directly either way. I'll just say I appreciate especially the out of school, that's an element to our grant, the migrant grant, is out of school youth. And just across the state, it's just kind of hard to reach those. So these tools that you're presenting are helpful, and knowing the plans that are available, and the tools and resources for not only graduating students, but that are in traditional school, but also some out of school resources.
Sure. Absolutely.
They're just talking about that they appreciate this information is in the chat box as well. So
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
let's see. Okay, so she appreciates that, getting information from different departments at the state, and how we can reach our students.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Marissa, I know you probably have a slide or something, but would you mind dropping in the chat box your contact information for everyone?
Absolutely. Let me actually, I wanted to give us time to talk. Let me get my info here. Sorry. Let's see. Perfect. All right. There we go. Here is my contact information for anybody who has questions. I don't know if you are having anyone from student support come in here, or our mental health support to talk about trauma informed. If you haven't already, I would certainly recommend reaching out to them for some information at least. They are doing a lot of work, around this space, and we have actually been working and connecting sort of our ICAP and hope and resiliency for a lot of our students as well.
Yes, we do have someone coming in our state next PAC meeting. So
Perfect.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
we're thinking on the same wavelength.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they're great. I'm biased because they're on my team, but they have been extremely helpful, for a lot of us as well. So thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate, of course, giving opportunity to share this information. Our information, of course, like we said, we thrive ourselves by having lots of input. And so of course, we try our best with using those who are at the school who are able to provide sort of an eye on things. But things have changed, obviously, related to COVID, but, even before that. And so any input or feedback that you guys have on the tools, if they're user friendly, if there's some things that we may have missed or things that you'd like to see added, please take a look at our website and our resources there, and don't be afraid to share that information with us. We want to make sure that we're meeting all of our student needs and not just some.
Thank you so much, Marissa. We appreciate your time this morning. It was great.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. So it looks like we are on a comfort break till 10:15, and we'll resume at 10:15 and move forward. I'll present a couple of things, and then Jose will, and we'll call it a day. So I'll see you here at 10:15. give everybody a couple more minutes to get back on board here and get started. Gary, do you still hear that humming sound or whatever?
I do. It seems a little more faint than it was, but I might have my volume down pretty far. Let's see. And just so you'll know, Jose's down here. We'll get him all set up for his part. So.
Okay, great. All right, it's 10:15. I hope everybody's back on. It's hard to know with not seeing faces. It's a bad thing about Zoom. But anyways, we'll start back up and to honor everyone's time. And we appreciate you hanging in there for this last little bit. I'm just going to talk to you just to give you some overviews and just some reminders and things like that. I did want to start out with a real short video, which, you know, starting at the beginning of the year for us is just kind of a refresher of kind of why we do what we do with this particular grant. I know we can all get kind of bogged down sometimes with, you know, the requirement part of it, paperwork and things like that. But it really boils down to the heart of it is services to our students. So let me see if this will, let me share my screen first. And could someone please let me know if you see this video when it comes up. Let's see.
And Erin, you know how to tell Zoom to play your computer audio?
No. Let me get the link going first, because it was, and then now it's not. So.
No sound yet.
Okay, this one's. What do I need to do about the sound?
Up there in that floating bar over to the right, there should be 3 little dots, I think, wherever your floating bar is, and say something like there's a thing that says play computer sound. Do you see it? Hearing it a little bit, but it's pretty choppy.
Okay, we'll just skip it.
Sorry.
I'll send it out to everyone.
That'll be better. Sorry.
No problem. I just thought it'd be cool to watch, but I'll send it out to everyone as a link. I have a couple of links actually to some videos of farm workers that have through the migrant program, they were migrant farm workers, and now they have graduated from college, some with master's degree and moving on. This is kind of a cool reminder of the services and things like that. So let me go back to pull the PowerPoint here. So like I said, I'll send those out if you guys, these particular 2 boys, there's 2 different stories. They're out of California, but the same kind of premise of migrant families. They themselves are migrant workers as well, and all that. So I'll send that out if you guys are interested in that. And so we're just going to go over brief reminder again of why we do what we do, the purpose of the law, to assist in supporting high quality comprehensive educational program and services, including summer school. So again, we want to emphasize the summer school portion of that to help, get our allocation back up in this state. It was cut by half for this school year. So unfortunately, it's going down, way down, and we need to get those numbers back up. And through that, we learned that summer school, you get kind of extra, through those services, you get kind of an extra boost in your allocation if you have kids in summer school. So that's why, not only during the regular school session, but summer school in particular, we want to really push and strive for our students to do something during the summer school, whether it be online or in person, just however it shakes out, how this year's going to go. So the second thing would be that they aren't penalized for curriculum and graduation requirements just because of the moving and the situation that they're in. To ensure that migratory children receive full and appropriate opportunities to meet the same challenging academic standards. To help migratory children overcome educational disruption and cultural and language barriers, health-related problems and other factors like that. We want them obviously to succeed in school in whatever that looks like for that particular child. To help migratory children benefit from state and local systemic reforms. And the goal, of course, is for them to graduate with a high school diploma or completed GED that prepares them for citizenship and productive employment. Components of the migrant education program, of course, are administration, student enrichment, parental engagement, advocacy, and ID&R. Eligibility requirements, ages 3 to 21, no high school diploma, GED, or high school equivalency. Parents have worked in a qualifying agriculture, this is fishing, but we don't have that really here, but job, or the student have worked in a qualifying agricultural job, and they have made a qualifying move. What agricultural jobs qualify? Of course, we've got planting, cultivating, harvesting seasonal crops, packing and processing food products, livestock or ranching, nursery or grain elevator work, initial processing of trees. And again, just like in years past, that landscaping and an oil field do not qualify for Title I program. Allowable expenditures. We'll go over a separate sheet of this, but just generally it's supplemental to all state and local and federal funds. Use those first, and then the supplemental on top of that for the migrant students. And any service that's paid for with migrant funds should not already be paid for through other state or federally funded program. That's called supplementing, so we don't want to do that. So a big component, as you know, is Parental Advisory Council, or PAC. So it's federally required. Each migrant LEA will organize a PAC and have at least 2 meetings during the school year, just like in years past, as well as the state level, we also have at least 2. Representative of each of the local PAC can attend the state PAC for meetings per year. If we were doing face-to-face, this would apply, that the reimbursement of lost wages to attend our meeting at the state level is allowable to be reimbursed. However, most of our meetings are interactive webinars or Zoom meetings at this point, so attending shouldn't be, as far as travel, shouldn't be an issue for this school year. So ID&R. There's several kinds of recruitments that we'll talk about, but identification, of course, means actively looking for and finding migrant children and out-of-school youth. The different kinds of recruitment. Recruitment means making contact with the family or youth and getting them, seeing if they're eligible and enrolling them in the program, of course. And there's a couple of ways to do that. There's school recruitment, which everyone does. And all of our programs do this really well. When a migrant student enrolls, that's when you start, asking them about their moves and what kind of agricultural, business that they're in, et cetera, and enrolling them at that point if they're eligible. Community-based recruitment, visiting community centers, libraries, events, churches, et cetera, whatever you, laundromats, whatever you have in whatever kind of community that you have, a gas station, whatever it is. Everybody's community obviously is different. But whatever you do have, visiting those places, leaving brochures or business cards there, the grocery store, whatever, but on a community board or something like that. Residency-based recruitment, canvassing neighborhoods or going door to door. Of course, the door-to-door things less or not happening now because of COVID. But again, just leaving brochures, information about the program. You want to constantly be, recruiting, getting your name out there, why you do what you do, how you can help your community, how you can help your farmers and businesses, and what you can offer them as well as their workers. And what Eugenia was talking about yesterday in this session 4, employer-based recruitment, which is mostly what she was talking about, was asking employees about their temporary or seasonal workers, establishing that relationship with them, and again, how you can help the farmer or business owner as well as the workers, what the benefits are for them, having your business card and brochures, readily available, and that way you're building a positive community base of helpers there. And Title I-C Family Survey is here, and so it's not required. However, it's a good tool, just like Eugenia was talking about yesterday. It's a good starting place to kind of know where, what families are in your district that particular time, at the point of time, and start working on, what are the family's needs, if they're eligible or not. And this document, of course, is available in English and Spanish. It's on our Title I-C webpage. So we have questions and discussions, which I'll check out the chat here in a little bit. But that's our team, as you all know, and how to get a hold of us. We are starting to come back into the office a couple of days a week, being assigned certain days. Just so you all will know, as my directors and my team there, I've been assigned to be in the office on Mondays and Wednesdays. So the rest of the time I'll be working at home. So if there's, as far as like a phone call or things like that, Mondays and Wednesdays would be the best. Anytime, of course, I'm available via email, but sometimes you just need to chat about things. Okay, let's see. There we go. There's that. So now we'll just chat about a couple of the handouts that I emailed you out. One super important one I made for you guys is your district timeline of events for this school year. And so these are all the due dates that I'm aware of right now, unless something else pops up, some new form or something additional that the evaluator is, needs or something like that. But as of today, this is all the things that are due for the whole entire school year up until, runs up until June of next year. So please incorporate these due dates and these events and documents and things like that into your calendar. So something that's ongoing, of course, would be doing COEs throughout the whole school year. And then you're going to also through the whole school year prepare self-evaluation, which this year will have a template for you. It'll be easier. And service delivery plan and comprehensive needs assessment. And those things are as far as collecting data and looking at your data throughout your school year to see where adjustments may or may not need to be made in your services. Again, this is so different this year with COVID. I know some flare-ups are going on in schools and everything, and plans are changing daily, almost, it seems like. But again, I wanted to let you all know, be upfront, be transparent that as of right now, these are everything I could possibly think of that you would need to attend or submit something for either me or Jose, anything related to migrant education. So if you have any questions about any of these items, you can email or call me or email Jose if it's a report for him. So with that, next we'll just kind of, again, this is on our Title I-C webpage, but most of you guys are seasoned, but there is a couple of you all that are fairly new still to the migrant program. But this is just a one-pager that I emailed out and is again available on our website of allowable things and suggested uses of how to use the Title I funds that would fit within the parameters of Title I-C migrant. And again, it's supplementary to other, state, local, federal funds specifically for the migrant students and parents. We also wanted to remind you that there's not very many at all that you all use this for these funds, but for specifically, since we're talking about Title I-C right now, this funding source or any federal funds, there's not going to be any food allowed at all with Title I-C or any federal funds this year forward. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up on that. Again, not many of you do that. You have, community partners or whatever, your general fund or something, or PTO, PTA that may pay for snacks or whatever for your PAC meetings. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. That is new. And then the last form I'm hoping will help with the communication between the Title I instructor or tutor and the classroom teacher. And so what, the very first day for Sarah and Lisa's presentation of data, again, and just walking through, and also even Levi's yesterday, of alignment. They all talked about alignment and looking at data and looking at, resources and things to align. And this would be another way to demonstrate that. Maybe you all maybe have something similar and you can feel free to use what you already have. But if you don't, here's a template that you could use that would help us demonstrate to the evaluator that there is alignment between the needs in the class, the needs of the student in the classroom and what is being, how they're being helped with after school care or summer school session with our Title I-C part funds. So it's just a simple form and it's in Word, so you guys can, add to it if you need to, if there's something missing you feel like. But it's again available on our Title I-C webpage and was emailed out to you prior to this session. But it just gives, for the student, you have the teacher, classroom teacher. There's a little box there that explains, what this form is, the purpose of it, and what part that they need to fill out. And so you're just going to kind of look at and match up the objectives to know, again, that there's some alignment with what is being taught or reinforced or reviewed in the Title I-C tutoring sessions or summer school sessions would also align with what is needed in the classroom for that particular student. So you could maybe do these forms, a couple of times a year, maybe once in spring, once in fall, just kind of keep on top of it to make sure, again, that the services are what the student is actually needing. So hopefully that will help as well. Again, just wanted to go, hopefully y'all can see the web page here, but you'll just go to services, federal programs, and then let me scroll down a little so everybody can see. So the Title I-C, Education of Migratory Children, that's our page. And here's your information for your page. So intent and purpose is just, general information of what the purpose of the grant is. Law and guidance is there for your help there. Forms and tools, we update that quite a bit. And webinars, we update that quite a bit as well. And then there's a whole section of resources, and some of these are community resources. Almost all of them are actually community resources. The Oro Development Corporation that we've heard from him before, Mr. Martinez, his brochures are English and Spanish here. If you're looking for, out of school youth help, here's some there. And you can contact their offices for the closest office, because he has a couple of regional offices across the state. So there's some COVID information on here as well with farm workers. I emailed them out, a long time ago, but it seems like March is forever ago. So just wanted to again draw your attention to the resource area and let you know that this section, this web page, we really try to keep it updated as closely for you. And the webinar section is where we're going to put the last 3 days sessions and handouts and all that good stuff will be in that section for you coming up soon. And then the last reminder before Jose jumps in is that, let me stop sharing the screen here, that I just wanted to remind you guys that we would really need your day 1, day 2, day 3 now evaluations from the last couple of days, and we hope that you found it beneficial. And I really enjoyed hearing from all the other departments as well, and how we could tie that into our own children, our own migrant children, and our grants specifically. But it was great to hear all the resources and the data dives and all this good stuff. So again, if you could please email me your day 1, day 2, and then now day 3 evaluations. And so, Jose, if you're ready, I'll turn it over to you. Well, looks like we'll maybe end today early so you guys can enjoy a good lunch.
Now they can hear you.
Yes,
Now,
we are ready.
If you will share your screen, hit that right there, and then hit that share right there. And now it's seeing your desktop actually. So now we need to go to what you're going to show them.
Okay, I want to start by the desktop.
Perfect. You're rolling.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to speak about highlights of the COE on MIS 2000 and what it is as the electronic COE. I will try just to highlight some issues that we have, but I will show you, like in a tour on MIS 2000, the item that I want to highlight. If somebody has question about some specific areas, just let us know and we will address that. And since this is a live version of the tour, so if you see when I am pointing something, let me know and I can give you more details about. And first, we need to start by locating MIS 2000 on the desktop, because I received questions that some people don't know how to locate MIS 2000, or those who are new. MIS 2000, I have it here in the taskbar. Also, I have it on my desktop here. So I always use this on the taskbar because it's quicker. It's just one click and it's opening. Okay. I have this student here because it is a fake student, it's a John Doe. So because we cannot use real names. As you can see, this one is a incomplete COE. What this means is this COE has not been approved. The COE is not going through the whole process. So when the recruiter actually creates a new COE, you click on the plus sign, this one over here. And you're supposed to have a clear blank COE. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So you will have some dates in here and some school district here, but some recruiters, they still don't change the school year. So when you recertify or when you create a new COE, to recertify the COE, you need to be on COE. Oh, I have this thing. Okay, COE here on the top, and then you click COE, and you will see here on the bottom, recertify. Once you hear that, when you hit that recertify COE, the COE that you have currently on your view will duplicate. What that means is we'll create a copy of. So you will need to update all the information on that COE. And when I say it will update, we're talking about grade, a school name, but also this one doesn't change. You need to go here and actually select what the school year you are certifying for, or for what school year you are creating the new COE. Don't leave me there 1920, because this year is 2021. So you need to select, like in this case, I have this old COE for 1819. So if I want to recertify this COE, I will need to pick 2021. Of course, this COE won't allow me to do any changes because it was created on the state database. So if I click 2021, see, I get this message because this is not mine. So I am not authorized to do changes to do COE. And how I know that, I need to click on view log here on the right corner, and you will see who owns the COE. See, here is COE is owned by OK0. OK0 is the state. But in your case, you have a database ID. OK is 1018, OK 1002, OK 1008, 1009. Whoever has that database owns the COE, and only that person can do changes to that COE. That's what I want to talk about, because, and the reason is that we have several incomplete COEs, and I will talk later about this, because for example, if I go to the student view of this fake student, even though it is an incomplete COE, the system already created an enrollment line on the student view. What happened with that is when I run reports, and sometimes we run reports without student names, and it's only counting the numbers. So if this student is counted, so we are giving wrong counting numbers. And that's why when we have an incomplete COE and for your district, I cannot delete those. You need to go in and delete those, so it doesn't appear or doesn't be counted on our reports. If we run the reports based on the showing the students, then we will discover that, and we will move or will be deleted. But the system will still have those in there. So speaking of the COE date and a school name and a school year, once you review all that, and the reviewer is supposed to check on that too, not just the recruiter, because before you submit COEs for review to the state, all this need to be okay. That means that this one is supposed to have the correct school year, the correct school district, the correct COE date. And see, for example, I see a COE that had, it was created in one date, but the COE date is different, about 20, 15 days. So this one, the COE date and the created date is supposed to match sometimes. Sometimes the recruiter creates the COE and get the signature later. then in different cases, but they're supposed to match. Okay, one of the things here, after I review the top, I need to start with the family. And one of the items that we are outdating in the family information, we know that the parent 1 and parent 2, the address, we don't want PO box numbers and all that. And we are requesting to MIS 2000, the vendor, to add over here, we are wanting to have like a comment section so you can explain like a little description of the address. If not a physical address like with numbers and a street and all that, because some addresses may have like a trailer number or rural route or 5 miles north or this road or to the left, you know, that kind of description will be added here when we get the comments field for the address that we want, this address in here. So for now, we don't have the item yet, but hopefully they will do it as soon as possible. Okay, now we will move to the second tab, eligibility. And this is the most important piece. Everything is important to be completed properly and the whole TOE. But this is the section that tells the story how the family or the worker and the student qualify for the program. So in items 1 through 4, the item number 1, this is the student move. It's when the student get into your district. And it doesn't matter the worker, the family, the student or the students, depending how many students or child or children do you have in the COE. When you describe in here from where to your district, then you will move to item number 2, and depending on if the student move with the worker or to join the worker, you will complete, if the student move with the worker, you will complete only the qualifying arrival date here. And you will leave these 2 blanks in here, no problem. That doesn't apply when they move with the worker, like in this case. But let's see the drop down. To join the worker, as the worker, if the student is the worker, then we don't need to complete also because it's by himself. But it is to join the worker, then we need in here the date that the student moved into the school district. And we will need in here the date when the worker moved into the district. And this date in here, the qualifying arrival date, is gonna be different from the residency date. Why? Because the residency date is when the student get into your district. But the qualifying arrival date is the date when they join, when the worker and the student get together in the district. So one example can be, one student may move, let's say on August, at the beginning of the school year. But the worker is not there yet. So let's say the student moved in August 8 or August 14 when some school started. So that's gonna be the residency day for the student. But when the worker arrived, let's say on August 20, that's gonna be the qualifying arrival date. And starting on August 20 is when the eligibility will start for 36 months. If the student doesn't have another qualifying move. Okay, now we have item. If you have any question, let us know about this. I feel like sometimes a little complicated. It takes some time to get it properly. And number 4, this move is for the worker. It has nothing to do with the student. The worker can go alone, do work, and then come back, take the family, and move together. Or even in item number 1, the student may move from one location and the worker from another location, and still they will have the same qualifying date if they arrive at the same date. But sometimes it is to join, the student may get there from one location and the worker may get there from another location if they don't get at the same time. But the student will have a residency date that is different than the qualifying arrival date. I hope if you don't get me, let me know and we try again and trying to see. Okay, and
Jose, this is Erin. I'm keeping an eye on the chat box for you, so if there's any questions, I'll let you know.
oh, okay, great. I want to move, okay, item number 4. See, for example, one worker did work in Eric, Oklahoma, harvesting potatoes during June, July. But when this worker was doing that job, he sent his family to Altus to get the school started, but he was working there. When he finished, he moved from Eric to Altus, but the student is already there. So how you will write the COE, or what will you put on number 1? From where the student moved? Where was the student when the worker was in Eric? Were they together? So if the student moved from Eric to Altus, then let's say the parents say, okay, the school is starting in Altus in August 14. So you need to go get housing and I keep working here. If that's the case, the student will get, before school start, that's gonna be the residency date. And the trip is gonna show from Eric, Oklahoma to Altus, Oklahoma. And the qualifying arrival day is not yet. Why? Because the worker is still in Eric. So you cannot do a COE like that. You need until the worker arrives, then they will have a qualifying arrival day. The student can be there already. And also, it cannot be, to join, cannot be more than a year, more than 12 months. We have that limitation there. Okay, in this trip in number 4, once the worker does some qualifying work and a qualifying move, that is good for 3 years. But starting from this date, from when the worker did the move for economic necessity. But what happened when the student get into a district? The qualifying arrival date gives them additional. So you still can do COEs every time the student move with the family, but with this move, the family need to move together or to join. And I am trying to explain this because I am seeing some COE like still missing the point, but or maybe not doing COEs because you may think that the family doesn't qualify because they didn't move together, or they don't need to move together for the qualifying work. Once the worker do qualifying work, it qualify for 3 years. But when they move together, they qualify for 3 years more. And then if they move, still you can continue doing based on this move, and every time they will have a new qualifying arrival date. So maybe for 9 years. But in here, it's gonna be a point where this move, it will have to stop because it's too much. I mean, you only can have maybe 2 or 6 years after the first COE, or depending on how fast the family moves, how often the family moves. Let me know if we need to go in further details here on the workers on item number 4. Now, I want to move in items 5 and 6. And here you need to let us know the qualifying activity. Here is the text. And also, I never seen this item, the personal subsistence. I never seen a COE. I had one, but it was disqualified because technical things that we need to consider when this happening. But what this is, for example, a family is working, but is not receiving a wage. I mean, not receiving payment. It's just they do it because they will eat the potato, they will eat the watermelons, or they will eat the crop that they are harvesting as a part of the pay. So a family is still qualifying under that. I never seen one in Oklahoma, believe me, but the auction is there. Okay, now in item 5A, you need to select seasonal or temporary. If it is seasonal, item number 6 is okay. We don't need anything in there because it's not required. But if it is temporary, we need to know why. Is the worker statement? Is the employer statement? We don't have any documentation or studies based on that yet. So the item number C won't apply yet because we don't have any. We may, something that we may look if we want to have it. But the worker statement is the worker is saying, yeah, the work is temporary because I am only planning here. And you need to provide comment. It says in here, see? Complete item 6 is temporary. And what that means is that you need to pick the worker statement or the employer statement. The worker statement will say, okay, I am planning to work here just about between 6, 8, or 10 months. And the employer may say, no, I hired these people just for 10 months or just for 9 or 11 months. And you write that on the comment section here. So we have 2A, 5, and 6. We have 5A, and to make comments. I will explain later the comments for those items. Let me see, I have it here. Let me go back to here and see the section that need comments. Okay, this item needed a comment. It's a to join move. You need to give us a comment in the comment section. And then another comment for temporary. Okay, comment here. In this section, it is only about those items. We don't want irrelevant comments in there. Like, for example, I was reading several years through the years that I've been here. The worker said that this is temporary because that's all that he can get right now, but later he will get a better job, a very paying job. That is telling me that the family is not migrant, so don't make those comments because is, for example, a re-interview comes, the person doing the interview will say, well, this family is saying that he's doing this just for, so they are not migrant. That disqualifies. So please only relevant comments about the section that is asking you the comments in this section. Then when we move to the children information, we have more comments here. And I see COE that they have comments in there about items that need to be in the other comment section. And this section here is only for this section of the children information. It's all about the student that you have. For example, here, I have John Doe. If I have an issue with that student that I need to let you know, I will write something, for example, this student is in our school use, working to get GED. Or, for example, this student was referred to Oro Corporation to get HEP, or high school equivalence services. I didn't like that, related to the student in here. And also, I want to show you something that is changing because N6 doesn't recognize is the grade level. And I think I still have pre-K in here. Let me see. I have pre-K, and see, pre-K doesn't have any description. And it is because based on the new data elements, and let me show you the new data elements. Data elements. Where is Grace? Grace. Where's parent? Grade level. See. Okay, see, these are, we need to align MIS 2000 to reflect these values for the grade level. And if we use pre-K, you see in here that pre-K is not there. See, what we have is PS, see, in here, PS. That's pre-K, but that's an official preschool program. That is the item that N6 will recognize. And also on the reports, that is gonna be. Pre-K, that is gonna be an invalid value for N6. And that's why I will remove the pre-K, but I want you to be aware that you will need to use PS for pre-K enrollment. Just want to clarify that because we have too many problems with N6 trying to, when we report. Okay, let me continue with my MIS 2000. Okay, the gray. What else? Okay, here the enrollment type. I am seeing that we have 06 enrollment type. It's for residency only. Before, I remember that N6 didn't require too many things like right now with the new laws and all that. We didn't even require to enter a enrollment date for residency only. No withdrawal. But now, with all that, when you have a residency only children, you need to enter an enrollment date, and at the end of the school year, if the student doesn't move before, withdraw the student at the same time that you withdrew all the school children. because now with those new reports, and if we don't have an enrollment day, it's like this student got into the infinite. It keep appearing on reports, on things, and counting, and it has a big impact on our reports. And that's why I am asking, please withdraw those students, enroll these students, and withdraw these students. And let me see. Oops, I have not right. Okay. And what else from here? If you have any question, let us know. Okay, this the home school supposed to transfer to the data. It's not transferring. Okay, I think that's in this. Now I want to move into signatures. I don't know, I was reviewing some COEs this morning and I saw in here on file, but I didn't see this, due to the COVID-19 pandemic selected. And because the pandemic, we added this in here. I don't know, it didn't apply or maybe, but if you actually got the signature from the parent and the signature of the parent is in here, then it's okay. But if the parent didn't sign, just on file or something, this needs to be selected because the pandemic. So we know that this was done during the pandemic. But there is a problem with this type of signature, that we still need to get the signature from the parent. It's not just clicking in there and forget about it. Based on information from the Office of Migrant Education, the U.S. Department of Education, the recruiter still needs to send a copy of the COE with the student or by mail for the parent to sign and return the COE. So that way it is on file. And that was sent, I believe, from somebody from the Office of the Migrant Education. So I am just transferred the information to you. And let me see what other from here. Staff. Okay, one item that I am seeing very frequently is that when the recruiter submit the information, the recruiter signs in here and then submit, this COE will change from incomplete to new. It's new for the reviewer. So the reviewer will have to go here at the top where it says view, here, view, and then we have to click on draft, COE draft. And the COE will appear in that window. And then we'll review the COE, and then at the end we'll sign the COE, and then it will approve the COE. When it's approved, is click, the COE will disappear again. And you need to do upload changes so the COE can actually move into our office, our server. Doing upload changes is a way of communicating with the server. So each time you do upload changes or check for updates, it's like you are talking with the server and asking, hey, do you have anything for us? Or do you have, I am sending this to you. So if you have something to send, like you did review COEs or approve COEs, then you are sending, but sometimes we do updates to the COE, like in that case, that when they add the comment section for the family address, then if you don't do an upload, you will never see that update. So at least twice per week or one, do upload changes or check for updates. So you are up to date. And also in case your database crash, it is easy for our vendor to restore your system.
Jose,
Okay.
are you able to show them
Yes.
where to go for to do the uploads, do the updates?
Oh, okay. You need to go to the tab here on the navigation pane here on procedures. And see, we upload changes or check for updates. These two are like a connection to the server. All recruiters and all reviewers, directors may have access to that. There is a difference between the database for the recruiter and for the reviewer or for the director. That the view is different because for example, the data entry person will have the three views like a student, COE, COE draft. But the recruiter don't. The recruiter only sees COE and COE draft. And that if the director has a copy of the data entry, then they will have the three view, because when you move into the student view, and we will move after I finish this on the signatures, and there are two ways how you can go. What that question answer, Erin? On the procedures to upload changes?
I think showing them where they're under procedures where it was located, especially for the new people, that was helpful.
Okay, procedure, okay, right there. Okay, I move forward. When we have those in here, those two signatures, and the system submits the COE, then this one move into my queue, and I will see it. But still I can see it when a COE is created and is incomplete and is coming on the process. Sometimes if I have free time, I go and check, and I let you know, hey, I saw this COE and it's needing this before you submit it. But if you want to ask questions before you submit, let me know, and we review the COE before you submit. Okay, and now I will move to the data entry piece. To move to the view, a student, you can click in here and click in student. But also, if you are already on the COE, like in my case, I am on the COE already here, you can click go, and it will go. Uh-oh, I need to be on children, so I can go to the student, see? And I am seeing the same student that I was looking the COE. If the student has an approved COE, you just click go to COE here, and you will go back to the COE. And see how COE is great, because this student doesn't have an approved COE, but guess what? It's not approved, it's incomplete, and what I have in here, I have an enrollment line, and this enrollment line is the one that goes into the report. And that's why when I run reports, some students don't appear, or I don't want them to still appear, because the system takes the enrollment date or sort. The system has several ways how to put a student, but see, for example, that's the reason why this student need to be deleted. Because every time that we create a COE, it also give the student ID and also create like a COE ID. But the student ID is individual. The COE ID is for the whole family, the whole number of students that are going to be in that COE. But each student, each individual student, get an ID. And we have in here the STN number, and I know that before we didn't require that, but because some issues with evaluation and accountability and trying to get children information from other sources, and sometimes having the STN is easy for everybody because they don't look just for the student name, but they can look for the student testing number. And that's why we added this in here. And this one is appearing on the student evaluation, on the program evaluation report. For our evaluator and for our partners here in accountability, when they have to run reports that compare students with migrant, non-migrant, for several things that we need to do with this information. So we are here and everything starts with the school history. Oh, what I'm doing here, okay. One of the things that you see here on the top, it says Dow Jones Jr., you see a designated graduation school. This is only for high school, but I've been seeing data entry people, they put that for everybody, and they put the name of the school. And this is not the name of the school. This is the National Center for Education Statistics. They assign a number to the whole country, each facility, each school district, each site has a NCES ID. That's the thing that we need in there. That's the number. For example, no Altus High School, no Gaimon High School, or no Frederick High School. We need the NCES ID. That's the one that goes in there. For 9, 10, 11, and 12 students. That's the level. The other students don't need to have anything in there. And here the graduation date, and here is the graduation date when this is only for high school, that you know that they will graduate, let's say in May, blah. This is the coding for its graduation. It is at the school level. I didn't see anybody since 2013 that I joined the program. I didn't see anybody getting GED or high school equivalence programs, only graduation. So, and this is something that we may have on the future. So we need to know which one also, because we have a report on this on the CSPR. And that's why we need to collect it, and we need to know. Let me see what other item from here I was having problem with. Okay, this in here, but this is not your fault. This item is supposed to transfer from the COE, because this is the recruiter during the interview asked if the student or the children are homeschooler, and they complete that part. But I've been seeing that it doesn't transfer, so I will ask MIS 2000 to check on that, to see why this answer is not being transferred. But actually, we need an answer on this because it is part of the NDEs for N6. And see, for example, when we submit our CSPR, they don't actually access MIS 2000. Those guys over there in U.S. Department of Education, the OMI office, they access M6 and they check N6 report, because all the information that we actually have in here transfer into N6. So for them, if we have wrong information in here, wrong information is gonna be on N6. And that's why we need to make sure that the information is correct. Last year was my first year that I had to compare reconciliation, that's how they call it, reports and between MS 2000 and M6. And we had about 222 issues. And some issues are because grades, pre-K, for example, didn't capture that. Some other grade, like a 0 for our school use. I think it's just giving like a missing grade. And that's why I am trying to put all this together, aligning with those reports. So next year we don't have that many problems. Okay, what other item from here is important? Okay, we spoke about the type, the grade. Okay. See here, this one. Our school transcripts. One of the things that they were speaking when I attended the M6 webinar is that a school district or whoever get the transcript when a student move, they have it, but they don't apply it. They don't add it into the course history. And it is important to add those, because if a student is close to graduation, you have the transcript and everything, but you don't add it into the database. And because the course history now doesn't transfer from MS2000, it's transferred from the local student information system. So we need to do it maybe in MIS 2000 or on the local, so it will import. If we do it in MIS 2000, we will have it right away. But if we do it on the local system, then it will have to wait for the synchronization process. Okay, now let me see what else. Okay, let me move testing information. The issue that we have with testing information is that I see several students that they are on 8th grade, they already been tested, but we don't have anything. And that's why it's the same problem with the course history transcripts. And one of the problems with this testing window is that it doesn't take tests that were taken in prior years. It only take like the current year or the performance period. And we need to maybe ask MIS 2000 to allow us to enter information in that case, because I know that some districts, they have the transcript, but they are not able to enter that information. So hopefully we can fix that. Let me see, health information, too many issues with this. Okay, MEP services. For example, I was looking a summer school program, and I saw the services, but also I saw in the regular school year that several students didn't have any services. And what happened with the students that are not having services? They are not counted. See, we have a student SERP, we have a student eligible report, we have different kind of reports. And the allocation that we receive, or the Oklahoma receive from the federal government, is based on all that kind of deductions that they see. Oh, they have 400 students, but only 200 students are being served. And so they figure it out, and they use that calculations. And for some reason, I don't know why students are not being served. We need to serve our students, even one service. What kind of service? And speaking of services, we are outdating our funding codes in here, and I think I will have to update it again. I am waiting on those people. They need to add, because this funding code only takes one character, and we need to take 2 characters at least, so we can actually use numbers, or if we use letters, maybe. But we are waiting on those people to see when they will have this update finished. But I can do it as soon as I have the green to go. Okay, see here, before we use M for migrant, now we are using 9, I believe. Where is number 9? Oh, it has, I didn't update, yeah. I saw one funding code that it was number 9, but I don't see it here. Maybe I didn't update. Consolidated, well, this is in letters already. Okay, but you see that the funding codes, we are updating this because we want you to have more options, like the CARES Act, Title 1 specific, Title 3A. And we have a little confusion the other day about this, because I was not seeing services because somehow the district were thinking that only district pay, only services paid with migrant funds are needed here. But actually not. That's why we have the funding code. When we run the report has a special column, and in there we see who paid for what. And then we segregate what was paid for with migrant fund and what was paid with other funds. And then we know, how districts are managing the available grants that they have, other funds. And that way, this is very important, because when we produce reports, one report require only migrant funds, but other report is student served. So it doesn't matter who paid for it, but it was served. The student received services. So if that student doesn't show any services in here because it was not paid with migrant funds, so that student was not served. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Is that's why it's important that you enter services even when not paid with migrant funds. Select any of those. And let me see one other thing here. Oh, the hours. How to calculate the hours? Somebody was saying, asking me that the other day. And they say, how we calculate the hours for that? And actually, that logic is the same how we calculate the hours for the course history. 1 hour can be like 1 day of attendance, and you just put, or also the curriculum and instruction person in your district, they may know how many hours the course is, because they design that and they know how many hours the student need to spend on that specific course. Like on this one, special activities, they spend 12 hours. The person who designed that, they know how long it will take, how many hours the student will need to be there. And that's how you enter that hours there. Okay, now the parents' information. And this one is just if you want to update something for the parents. Sometimes the student get like parent get divorced or guardianship change, you know, like a foster parents and I don't know, wherever applies, you can actually come here and do changes. And also you can let us know and we can update the student information over there on the children information on the COE and add on the comment section that student, you know, guardianship, we can change that. And course history is supposed to transfer without you doing anything, yes. The student information system from your district. And in here, these are just documents that you may have for the student, like our school transcript or another country transcript. And the reason of this is because we receive any type of open record request. And also, and if we don't have the information, we cannot actually comply with the request. But we received several requests that actually we need to get the information. And sometimes we will need to reach out to you if we need it. But if you have documents that pertain to a specific student, just upload that document in here. And do we have any questions so far, Erin?
There's not any in the chat box right now.
Okay, let me just make sure. Oh, okay, we spoke about the comment section. We spoke about the residency. I think we covered everything. Okay, yeah, I think I covered everything that I need to cover. So if there is no questions, or right now you can make your question and we can go back and review the specific area or item or something that was unclear.
You can always, if you think of something, you can always email Jose as well, too, for help and get clarification on some things. Yeah, so far there's nothing in the chat box. So thank you, Jose, for your presentation and explaining some changes and updates that are coming and taking everyone through the different tabs to fill out for a COE. So again, if you all don't have any questions immediately right now about COEs, you can follow up with Jose with a phone call or an email. Again, probably email is the best since we're kind of in and out of the offices lately. Then that would be great. Other than that, please remember to fill out your evaluations for day 1, 2, and 3 and get those emailed to me. I'll appreciate it. And then other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day.